Okay, we're going to learn about internal sandhi. We're going to learn about feminine a and third person pronouns we will do next week. We will also learn about feminine nouns. Okay, so this will all make sense today. Number one, let's talk about sandhi. So here it says internal sandhi. We're going to do number one now. Internal sandhi means sandhi used within the word. So what is external sandhi? External sandhi is sandhi between two words. Ramahacha, ramashcha, that's two words. Internal sandhi means there is a change within the word. We will learn only two internal sandhi rules. They don't need to be memorized, but only recognized. So don't have some pressure trying to remember this. Just get familiar with it for the sake of recognition. Okay, rule number one. So two rules. We're on the first rule now. Is that the s changes to sh. Okay. So here it is. So far, this s is going to change into a sh within the word. So suppose you have letters r, ra, mas, ramasana. So this s is going to change into a sh depending on the letters around it. Okay, so the letters around it will depend whether this s changes to a sh. Let's see what letters should be around it. The letters that should be coming before a s are any vowel, k, or a r. Therefore, if you have a s, then if you have a vowel before any vowel except a or a, or if you have a k, or if you have a r. Therefore, vowel k, r before s would change that s into a sh. Clear so far? The rule does not apply if the s is final or followed by a r immediately. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that if you have a r right after the s, then the s remains immune because the r is right after the s. So here's the formula. When does this s change into a sh? It changes when a vowel comes before it, except a or a, and it also changes if a k or r comes before it. However, this s remains s if r immediately comes after it. Okay, so let's do an English example. Casey, what is this supposed to be now?
So there is an I in front of it, so it's one of the vowels that's not A or A. So it changes from a s to a sh.
Ah.
Ish.
Good. 10 out of 10. Now, what if, Rani, what if I add a r here?
It doesn't change.
Here's an example. Nishkama, you heard this in Bhagavad Gita, Sakama Nishkama. See how there's this green I? Because it's there, this original s has changed into a sh. Nishkama. Originally it's niskama, but only to internal sandhi, it has become nishkama. Okay, one more. Now here it says, if the sound following the s is any one of these letters, t, p, or n, then they will all change into retroflex versions. So t into t, p into t and n into n retroflex. For example, I think Dave asked this very early on in the course. How do you come to tish, ta, ti, you know, this strange combo? Okay, so here it is. This is our stands words. So because of the green vowel, the original s has changed into a retroflex. We've just done that in the previous number 2. And because the retroflex has because the s is there, it's also influenced the next t to become a retroflex. Therefore, from tis tati to tish tati. Please say the words together and see which one sounds more natural. Tis tati, very hard to say, to tish tati, tish tati. Yeah, the sophistication of Sanskrit, genius, how they came up with these articulate and precise tongue movements on the basis of letters. Okay, that was row number 1. Now, new headline, row number 2. The n, the normal n, changes to a retroflex n if before the n comes any one of these letters. R, 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 or sh. Remember when Swarna said, you know, the T for trap, how the T for trap keeps the n safe from retroflexing? Yeah, so here it is. We're now at that part. Okay, so let's do an example. Okay, so what it's saying is n is going to change into a n retroflex if you have any one of these letters before. R, 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 or sh. Okay, unless in between these letters come, then this n remains safe. Okay, so I'll do a little test to see how well we understood. What about...
Will it stay the same?
Yeah, why? Because the t is in between the r and the n.
Okay.
Okay, so in other words, what I said is, if you have in between the r or the n, any one of these letters in this table, then this n remains safe.
Can I just confirm, Andre? So the r can be as many letters before the n as you want.
Correct. And the n will still be suspect to changing into retroflex. Unless in between the r and the n, you have this table in between. Okay. So for example, Ramena, we know this, right? Ramena with Rama. Now we know why the n is retroflex, because there is no letters in between.
Okay.
There's no saviors in between the r and the n. Again, putranam. This is genitive plural, putranam, of many sons. There's the n retroflex. Why is it retroflex? Because there's a r right before it, and there's no saviors between them. When I say saviors, I'm referring to this table here. These are the saviors. And then dharmikena, with virtuous. Again, look at this. So many letters and yet not a single savior. Therefore, the n still gets a retroflex. All right, so none of these letters are found there. Therefore, the n gets retroflexed. Number 5, ignore. Number 6, ignore. We've just done that in a much more, more articulate way. Okay, number 7, you can just say you will never see. What it's saying is if the n follows by a n, then they both become retroflex n. Okay, now we're entering the feminine paradigm. Sena, army. That means a conglomeration of warriors. So this is page 145. So this is going to help us to now recognize a whole bunch of new words, which you will see why, because there are a lot of words that you do know on the feminine. Okay, same case, same situation. 8 cases, we just have to now remember them. Okay, what's step 1 before attempting to recognize the paradigm? If someone remembers.
Patterns.
Patterns, good. So what do we recognize here? Senapyam, senapyam, senapyam. Just like narapyam, narapyam, narapyam. And then we've got senapyaha, and we've got senapyaha. Just like narepyaha, narepyaha.
Andre, just a quick question.
Yes.
If it is a masculine army, how would the words look like?
Sena gachati. The army goes, just like Naraha gachati.
Okay, but here it says Sena, feminine army.
Yeah. No. We're not talking about the gender, please. We're not talking about an army with females. We're talking. This is just the word has a feminine connotation. The other word has but it's got nothing to do with gender itself.
Oh, I see. All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
So if I were to simplify this, just think of this: masculine, neuter, and feminine are all just words. Why are they masculine, neuter, and feminine? I really don't know. But for the sake of division, I guess for categorization, there is this 3 categories. Repeat: sena, sena, sena gachati, army goes. Sene, sene. Sene gachataha, 2 armies go. Senaha, senaha, senaha gachanti, all armies go. Sena, sene, senaha. Again, sena, sene, senaha. Sena, sene, senaha. Sena, sene, senaha. Okay. Senam, this is an easy one. You just add a m at the end. That's how you know it's an accusative. Just like, palam. Senam, sene, senaha. Almost the same, isn't it? Except you just add a m there. Okay, let's do it again. Sena, sene, senaha. Senam, sene, senaha. Okay, how about the army goes to this army? The army goes to this army. How about the army goes to that army? Okay, sena, senam, tatra gachati. Or we could say not that, we say that army. With the army, senaya saha, senapyam saha, senabhi saha. Senaya, senapyam, senabhi. Again. Senaya, senapyam, senabhi. Please extend the long A's for the sake of memorizing. Okay, dative. Senayai, senapyam, senapyaha. Senayai, senapyam, senapyaha. From the army, senayaha, senapyam, senapyaha. Again, senayaha, senapyam, senapyaha. Of the army, senayaha, senayoho, senanam. Again, senayaha, senayoho, senanam. Locative, on the army, or more like in the army. Senayam, senayoho, senasu. Senayam, senayoho, senasu. Okay. How about Rama is in the army? Shiva?
Ramaha senayam asti.
Good. How about Bindu? Rama goes to Sita. Rama goes to Sita. Remember, Sita is going to be accusative now.
Ramaha Sitam Gachati.
Ah, good. Okay, how about Sita goes to Rama? Dave? Sita.
Sita, long.
Sita.
Ramam gachati.
Good, okay. How about I go with the army? I go with the army, Casey Kripaya?
I is aham, with the army is senaya saha, and then go is gachami.
Good, 10 out of 10, good. Well done. Okay, Manish, I obtain water for the army.
So I is aham, jalam labhe, senaye, sorry, aham, senaye, jalam labhe.
Good. Okay, how about you come from the army? You come from the army, Yamuna?
So from the army is Sena Yaha.
Mm-hmm.
You come Agachasi.
Feminine nouns must have feminine adjectives. If the noun is feminine, the adjective is declined like a or e. In the dictionary, if you look up the word kupita right now, you're going to see this. You're going to see m, f, n. The only thing is not going to see the a there. You're going to see just this m, f, n, like that. If you see m, f, n, it actually means m. All it's telling you is it can take the masculine paradigm, the nara. You can take the feminine paradigm, the sena, which ends in long a, right? Which is the that. Or you can take the pala paradigm, the neuter. Okay, so what does this mean in practice? What about angry knowledge?
Kupita Jnanam.
Good, good. So why did Rani say kupitam jnanam? Because jnanam is neuter, therefore kupitam has to end in neuter. Now you see why the word, you have to know whether it is masculine, feminine, or neuter. Because how will you know how to describe it in an adjective unless you know what the word is? Okay, what about virtuous army? Manish, virtuous army. Now careful here, it says instead of using for dharmika, instead of using for feminine a, you use the e, the long e.
Because its army is feminine,
Yeah.
so sena, so dharmi ki.
Good, dharmiki.
Sena.
Good. So why is it not dharmika sena? Because the dictionary doesn't say it says e. In other words, some adjectives will have, instead of using the a, they will tell you to use the e. If that is the case, don't say dharmika sena, but you say dharmiki sena. Don't say dharmika sita. You say dharmi ki sita.
And it's a long E, isn't it?
It's a long
Andre?
E. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rama is afraid. Ramaha
Pitaha asti.
bhitaha visarga asti. Why? Because if you're using the masculine, you also have to say end with the same declension, the adjective. We already did this last week. Now, what about Sita is afraid? Bindu? Sita is afraid.
Yeah, Sita, Pita asti.
Ah, you see? This is wonderful. So she has accurately ended it in the same as Sita. Now, what if I say beautiful Sita? Ashutosh, beautiful Sita. Careful here. The dictionary tells you it's a long I.
Sita Sundari Asti.
Ah, good. In other words, Sita is beautiful. Sundari Asti. Let's put a summary to this. In the dictionary, if you look up a word and it says this, kupita, and then in the brackets it says mfn, then that actually means mf long a n. If it says mfi n, then you know what that means. In other words, use the long e when you're describing a feminine word.
Is this only for adjectives or?
Only for adjectives, yeah.
Andre,
Okay.
Can you give some example for neuter if we have to use these
Sure.
words?
Sure. How about virtuous fruits? This is plural now. So fruits is phalani.
Yeah,
Virtuous. Dharmikani. Dharmikani. There's a retroflex ne. Dharmikani palani. How about virtuous fruit? Dharmikam palam. What about beautiful knowledge? What about, okay, beautiful knowledge? Sundaram jnanam. Beautiful army? Sundari Sena. Beautiful Rama? Sundaraha Ramaha. Next week, we will do the third person pronouns. Don't worry about that now. Okay, new word, very fancy word is Iva. Repeat Iva 5 times. Iva, Iva, Iva. Okay, what is Iva? It means like. As in, the boy speaks like a king. Okay, what you have to remember about this word is, if you say like a man, notice how in English first the like comes and then the man comes. In Sanskrit, this is reversed. The man will go first and then like second. So like a man, English, Sanskrit will be man like. Like an army, Sanskrit, army like. Dave, what will be like knowledge in Sanskrit?
Jnanam Iva.
Good, that's it. Yamuna, what will be like a boy?
Balaha iva.
Good. So all we're doing is we're putting the Iva, the like, last. Whereas in English, it's reversed. So here it is. The boy speaks like a king. The boy, Balaha, speaks Vadati like a king, Nirpaha Iva. And then it says here, notice that both are nominative, number 2. Because the boy is not doing anything to the king. You're just equating them. The boy is like a king. Therefore, they're both nominative. our juicy new words, and that is the end of our session. Let's do these new words together, all feminine words. Okay. Avidya, ignorance. Avidya, ignorance. Repeat. Iva, like. Iva, like. Out loud. Katha, story. Katha. Remember the strong aspiration. Katha, puff of air. Katha, story. Rama reads story. Ramaha katham pathati. Rama reads story to the boy. Ramaha balam katham patati. More like Rama reads story for the boy. Ramaha balaya katham patati. Okay, girl, kanya. Kanya. Boy, balaha. Girl, kanya. Angry, kupita. Kupita kanya. Angry girl. Shadow, chaya. Chaya, shadow. I stand in the shadow. Aham tishtami. In the shadow, you look up. Sena, locative, and then you tell me what that is.
Chayayam.
Okay, good. Next one. Putrika, daughter. Putrika, daughter, out loud, please. Putrika, daughter. Son, putraha. Daughter, putrika. Praja, child. Praja, child. You can see why, I don't know why, what's the logic behind feminine and masculine, because a child can be both a man or a female, so it's got nothing to do with gender. Praja, child. Bala, girl. Bala, girl. Balaha, boy. Bala, girl. Also, kanya is girl. So kanya, bala, wa. Okay, wife, bharya. Bharya. What's the other word for wife? Spoken Sanskrit? Patihi.
Patni?
Patni.
Patni. So in other words, that one, it ends with a long I. Patni. In other words, we will look at Patni, feminines with long I paradigms much later. Okay. Bhita, afraid. Bhita. Bhita kanya. Afraid girl. Bhita bala. Okay, next one. Interesting word, useful. Mala. Garland. Mala. I'm sure you've heard of this before many times. Next one, vidya, knowledge. Vidya. I'm exaggerating these long A's. You're not going to say this in long life like this. Vidya. Vidya. Avidya.
So, Andre, just one thing. So when you say Sita is afraid, you say Sita biti. Not Bita.
Bita, Sita.
Not biti, Sita.
Bita, do we say it's a long I? Let me check.
It's Bita. It's still long A. That was Sundari where we had I.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Bita is still A.
Okay.
So shouldn't it be biti?
No. So Manish just said, unless the dictionary says long I, don't use the long I.
Okay.
So therefore, Bhita Sena. Okay, where are we now? Sita, wife of Rama. Sita, one of my favorite names. And army, Sena. Sena. Okay, let's together. Kata, Kanya, Kupita, Chaya, Putrika, Praja, Bala, Bharya, Bhita, Mala, Vidya, Sita, Sena. I'm sure you'll figure out the pattern by now. They all end with long A's. Okay. Homework is no homework. I want to make sure that you have some relaxation time. However, relaxation time means something. And that means study the Sena paradigm. That means write it out, please, for the sake of memory. Also, do the pronoun I and you, but just for single person, for singular, because they're the most common ones. Singular I, singular you. Just write it out and also say it out loud. Aham, mam, etc. Twam, twam, etc. Okay, then number 2 is create 10 sample sentences using words on this page, 150. The angry girl goes to the virtuous army. So 10 sentences in Devanagari, and then Sandhi. Apply. Only 10, that's not a lot. Your own sentences. So you can keep them as short or as long as you wish. And finally, it is now time to give you a project which you will have about 1 month to complete.